Now, we're going to talk about the weekend soccer, and it's a pleasure to welcome Liam Brady and John Giles to the stand. Liam, one of the big stories over the weekend, of course, involved Liverpool and Manchester City dropping a point. But I'd just like to start by asking you about Arsenal. They drew 2-2 at Norwich. It was a pretty average performance, and Emery is now gone. And there's a fascinating piece by Nick Hornby, a well-known Arsenal fan and a great writer, in one of the papers this morning, saying that since Wenger has gone, Arsenal is not the same. They're just like other clubs, sacking managers. There's no continuity, and it's over.
Well, I think that's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
I think the regime had already changed when Arsene Wenger was there. You know, the club was sold to Stan Kroenke. The majority shareholders, David Dean and Daddy Fisman at the time, sold their shareholding to Stan Kroenke. And over the course of time now, Stan Kroenke has 100% of the club. So it's an American business venture. It's a part of his portfolio.
Yes.
And in many ways it has changed, but it had changed under Wenger. It wasn't just Wenger leaving. I suppose what you could say is Wenger was in charge of most things at the club when he was manager, and now that has changed dramatically. There's a kind of a team of people, and Emery was one of them, 4 or 5 that were making decisions on who was coming, who was going, contracts given, and so forth. So that has changed. Arsene used to be in total control of that.
Yes.
But over the course of time, that power was eroded through the leadership of Ivan Gazidis as chief executive, and we are now what we are. But there are many clubs like this now, Eamon. So
yes,
I'm glad Emery's gone. I think he was going nowhere with his tactics and the way the team was playing. So I think things will only improve. And although the performance was very average yesterday, Freddie Ljungberg had one training session with the players. I was a little bit surprised at the team he picked, but there you go.
Yeah, John, I know you watched the game. I watched it myself. Defensively, with Mustafi and David Luiz in the heart of defence, Guendouzi in midfield, supposedly, a holding midfield player. They really allowed Norwich 2 easy goals. They didn't want to close the ball down. They didn't appear to want to tackle. They didn't appear to want to put the effort in. It was incredible. There was very damning analysis done on BBC Two, BBC One rather, last night, showing how little pressure they put on the ball, and really, in the case of Mustafi and David Luiz, it was outrageous.
Yeah, well, they've been doing that for a long time, Eamon. And, Ljungberg took over. Yeah, there's not going to be a miracle performance.
No.
You still got Ozil on the pitch, and you got Xhaka on the pitch, and the defenders that you just mentioned, Eamon.
Yeah.
He's not going to turn them into world beaters overnight. And, you got what you got. I mean, that's been going on for Arsenal for a long time, as Liam said there.
Yeah.
So, unless he's got he's a miracle worker, Ljungberg, to do and work with them during the week, Eamon, I can't see any dramatic change in them. You're not going to change Ozil. You're not going to change a lot of the players on the pitch there. They're just not good enough, Eamon. And it's not good enough starts with not putting in the effort that you should be putting in. So that's been going on for a long time. So there needs to be a really, really big change at Arsenal from the coaching staff, whether they stick with this lad or not. But there's got to be big changes, Eamon.
Yeah. Now, just to go back to the other end of the table, or to the serious business end of it, Liam, Liverpool, Brighton, 2 goals from Van Dijk, but a not very convincing performance yet again. And I think no clean sheet. And I think that's the last 11 or 12 games where there's no clean sheet. But they're 11 points clear of Manchester City, 8 points clear of Leicester. And they keep churning out the results.
Well, they do, Eamon, and, I don't know how many games have been played now. Is it 15 or something like that? 15, 16?
It's actually 14 in the league, yeah.
Sorry. You're not going to actually, get top performances week in, week out. And they probably just idled in front when Van Dijk got the 2 goals. They probably just idled in front where, we're used to Liverpool going and getting maybe 3, 4, 5. But, so that is a slight worry, Eamon. But the fact that they keep on winning, I think they're going to be up for every single match now. Every game they play, they know if they win, it's putting enormous pressure on the chasing pack.
Yeah.
And Manchester City dropping points again over the weekend, I think, would have delighted Liverpool because I watched Leicester, Everton, and I don't think Leicester can challenge Liverpool for the title.
No, John, Liverpool keep getting the job done. They got a draw against Napoli. Lovren header from a set piece. 2 Van Dijk headers to put Brighton away. And there has been a dip particularly from Mo Salah. He's not playing well. But wherever you look in their team, if 2 or 3 guys are having an ordinary time, 2 or 3 others pop up and deliver the goods. They keep getting over the line.
Yeah, well, that's what Liam said there is right, Eamon. If you're going to be win the league as they're odds on to do it, or any other team doing it, you do get goals from all over the place.
Yes.
Van Dijk is not going to score 2 goals every week, but he'll do it now and again for you, and so will other players pop in. As you say, Salah's not playing particularly well. I don't think Mane's playing particularly well. But there's so many good players around them that, you're not dependent on them all the time. Obviously, you want them to be playing well as well. But it doesn't matter how you win as long as you win. I mean, if it's Van Dijk scoring them or anybody else scoring them. And that's the quality that they have. And you'll find over the years, all the teams that win the Premiership do things like that. They get goals all over the pitch. And they get them when they're absolutely necessary. And that's what Liverpool are doing at the moment.
This young lad, Liam Trent Alexander-Arnold, we know he's a bit suspect defensively, but his distribution and his footballing, technically, he is outstanding. The balls he delivers, and of course Robertson on the left as well. The 2 fullbacks for Liverpool are hugely effective going forward.
Absolutely, they're the guys who make the goals most of the weeks. They've got a tremendous assist rate, the pair of them, and they even sometimes assist one another to score goals. It's great to see both full backs attacking and one whipping the ball in and the other one arriving at the far post to knock it in. He's a super young player, and I think he will improve defensively as well.
Yes.
I think he wants to learn. I think he has a real good attitude, and I think over the course of time, he might become a centre back. He might even become a midfield player. I think the kid's really, really gifted.
Yeah, John. Now, one of the things that we've all, I think, observed in since the start of the season, really, is Liverpool, having had a great defensive record last year, have adjusted, and they are playing a very high line, and again against Brighton at the weekend. On Saturday, Alisson was sent off. He'd come off his line, probably when he didn't need to, but certainly when a Brighton player was threatening, he handled the ball. He'll miss the game against Everton on Wednesday, the derby game. The high line persists, and they can't keep a clean sheet. Do you think those 2 things are related?
Well, if you look at most of the goals, that they're losing, the ones I've seen anyway, it's mostly because they are playing this high line and getting out, and I don't know what it is, trying to put offside. I just don't understand it. They weren't doing it last year. Anything that I can remember from last year, they weren't doing it, and they're just doing it this year, and it's costing them. As you say, anytime I see them losing the goal, 90% of the time is because they're getting out on this high line when there's no need to do it. I just don't know why they're doing it. I mean, they got good defenders, they're pacey defenders.
They're quick.
They just have to, not get out as quickly as they have been doing. It is costing them. And somewhere along the line, they'll get a game where things are not going so well, and they could lose a vital game from it. And I just don't understand it.
Yeah, Liam, the goal Mertens scored for Napoli in the Champions League game. That was classically high line, but Ancelotti would have prepared to some extent for that. Mertens took his opportunity, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. It's hard to know why they changed, isn't it? Because you tend to play a high line if your defenders are slow, but they've got pace, all of them, apart from Lovren. It's curious, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I would agree. If you have pacey defenders, you don't have to do it. They can run alongside people and track back and so forth. Maybe it's because the full backs are so pushed up, Eamon, that Van Dijk has taken it on himself. Like, right. You watch me, whoever the centre back he's playing with, you watch me, and we'll be marking one or either two, and we'll just step up at the right time and catch them offside. Now they have been doing that, and had some success in it. Yes. But when it doesn't work, it's costly, and they've conceded 12 goals in 14 games.
Yes.
Now that is a worry. That is a worry. They've been able to outscore all the other teams apart from Manchester United when they drew with them. But it is a worry that in 14 games and you're top of the league, you've conceded 12 goals. I would have thought that should be, in and around the 6 or 7 mark.
Yeah.
If you're going to go on and win the league, but the other teams are struggling to keep up with their name, and particularly Man City. And I know you're probably going to go on to them because they, for me, are the only contenders that Liverpool have to worry about unless they have a complete collapse. See, what City can be capable of is doing what they did last year, putting an unbelievable winning run together. Yeah. I don't think Leicester or Chelsea can do that to catch Liverpool.
No, and I should note that Liverpool are unbeaten for 31 games now, which equals the club record. And if they don't lose their next game, they'll break the record. I should also just ask both of you, Liam first. Van Dijk is up for the Ballon d'Or tonight, I think it is. He'd be there with Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, of course. I would be inclined to say that he deserves it. It's a long time since a defender has won it, but I'd be inclined to say he deserves it. What do you think?
Yes, I would concur with you absolutely. He's been tremendous for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Liverpool, unbelievable league season last year. It was incredible that they didn't win it. It's getting done by just 1 point. And, having won so many games with him, at the helm, with him leading the team.
Yes.
They went on to win the Champions League. They're in the Champions League final before, and I think it's been coming. I think his performances for Holland have been outstanding as well, Eamon.
Yes, they have.
Holland have really come back on the scene again. And that's down to the fact that Van Dijk is leading them as well. So I would agree that he would be a worthy winner.
Yeah. Now, John, I know you have not quite the same regard for him as I do and Liam does, but he's up for the Ballon d'Or for all the reasons Liam said, not just with Liverpool, actually, and as Liam rightly pointed out, with Holland as well. He's been an outstanding leader. What's your doubts, John?
No, I don't have any doubts about him playing, Eamon. Sometimes his attitude gets up my nose a little bit because when he makes a mistake himself, he's looking around and throwing his hands up. It's not his fault. That's all. That's only an attitude on the pitch. Yeah. His performances have been excellent, and if he wins it, I think he well deserves to win it. It just irritates me doing something that's not necessary, which is showing respect for your colleagues when something happens. But anyway, that's by the way. But I think he's been an outstanding player for Liverpool. I mean, he's been the outstanding defender in the last at least 12 months. I think since he's gone to Liverpool.
Yes.
And I mean that worldwide.
Yes.
He's got all the attributes. He's quick. well balanced for such a big fella. He's good in the air. He's good on the ground. So he's done a tremendous job for Liverpool. I wouldn't have any objections, or not that I should matter, about him winning this particular thing.
Well,
There's just a time he irritates me a little bit, but that's by the way. I think he's been a terrific player for Holland, as Liam says, and for Liverpool.
You matter to us, Chief, although there's quite a few things up that nose of yours, and there might be some more up there in a minute, because we're moving on. Manchester City, Newcastle, John. 2 points dropped again by City, and they had the lead twice. They don't look as intense. They're not playing with that intensity that was, essential to their progress in the last 2 seasons, especially when they haven't got the ball. And one or two of their players look, David Silva in particular, not quite on it for some months now. What's gone wrong?
Well, I think it's a change in the season, Eamon, in players. I mean, Silva has been a terrific player, as we know, for Manchester City.
Absolutely.
But he did say at the start of the season, Eamon, he's going to retire at the end of this season.
Yeah.
That's not the best way to approach the season for himself or for the team, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And he has dipped in form. I think he has gone past his best. So he's been a vital player and a huge player for them over the years, and he's not doing it. Lost Company, who was one of the big players for them, huge players for them as well.
Yes.
Fernandinho was a player in midfield, has gone to the back now, and I don't think he's playing very well in that particular position. De Bruyne is a huge problem, Eamon. Yeah. 2 years ago, he was the best midfield player in the Premiership, without any question. He is not the best midfield player by any means this season or last season. Now, he scored a fantastic goal the other day, but every time I see people talking about him or reading him, he's the best midfield player in the country. I don't see that.
No.
He's not doing his stuff. He's a temperamental lad. He's thrown his hands up in the air if he makes a mistake. He's not doing the business, Eamon.
Right.
So that's 4 players I've mentioned now who are vital players to Manchester City last year and the previous years with their success, who are not doing the business. And, they got 1 or 2 players coming into the team that I don't think are good enough. I mean, you got Gundogan. Is it Gundogan?
Gundogan, yeah.
He's just average. I mean, and he's playing regularly now. So they have lost a few players, whether it's out through bad form, retirement, and they're not the team that they were. And they haven't been since the start of the season. As you mentioned there about putting the other teams under pressure and that. Yeah. They're not doing that. And that was 50% of their game. Yeah. So it's no surprise that they're not the team. In my opinion, and I think we've said it for the last few weeks, they're not the team that they were last year. And that's, if you're not the team that you were last year, then you're going to be doing what they're doing, which is dropping points.
Yeah. Liam, Laporte is a big loss, people say. He was the centre-half they brought in. And did have a good season last season. Sané, the young left winger, he's had a very bad injury. He's been out since the start of the season. They're ropey at the back, Liam. Fernandinho, Stones, Otamendi. That's he's got to choose from those 3, any 2 of those 3. None of them are commanding. But the other thing that John mentioned there that I've also noticed is when they lost the ball at their best, the intensity and the pressure to get it back, to get the other team on the back foot, that has disappeared. I watched them twice last week against Shakhtar Donetsk, 1-1 draw at home, didn't do the press there, and against Newcastle, didn't do it either, Liam, and 2-2 was the result.
Yeah, they're obviously conceding too many goals, and we know that the defence has been suspect for the last 2 or 3 years, and that's the criticism that you and I have always had about Guardiola, that he should have paid a bit more attention to that. And when you think that Liverpool got Van Dijk when they were probably buying other centre backs, you would question their recruitment in that position.
Yes.
And I think it has been a problem. That also meant he wasn't playing yesterday. He put Fernandinho back not yesterday, Saturday, in the back 4. And he's a midfield player, not very tall. Don't think he plays the position as well as he does in midfield. The other thing that was bad about Saturday's performance was Jesus up front. You know,
yes.
He's not a patch on Aguero. Aguero, I think if he had been playing, you know, I saw a lot of the chances that fell to the City forwards. If Aguero had been playing, he would have helped himself probably to a hat trick.
Yeah.
So he's a big miss when he doesn't play, a huge miss. But I think what John says is correct. I think they're getting on a bit, this City team.
Yes.
They're not the same team as they were, you know, last season or the season before. Perhaps the edge has gone off them. Perhaps the hunger to win the league, because they've won it so often, has gone a bit from them. And this is what can happen, you know.
Yeah.
A real good team, if they score 2 goals, they shouldn't drop points. You know, it should be done and dusted. If you score 2 goals and you're solid defensively and you're well organised, that should be it. But City got 2, Arsenal got 2, still didn't win.
Yeah.
You know, it can't happen. Manchester United, Eamon, they got 2 goals, didn't win the match. They've got to get right defensively if they're going to. I think their main aim now is probably the Champions League, but if they're going to win that, they've got to get right defensively.
Yeah, because, John, the better teams you play in the Champions League, the more you will have to defend. Just to take the winning goal, John, scored by John Joe Shelby, free kick, cleverly played back, and he hit it from 20 yards, 25 yards. It was a great goal, but he was alone, no one picking him up, and that was bad.
Well, it is. Yeah, of course it was. I mean, it was a terrific finish from Shelby. You know, it was absolutely brilliant. You know, technically and everything. Yeah, he shouldn't have been left on his own. I mean, but you'd have to say, I mean, even in the matches poor City played, they missed some great chances in the second half, Eamon.
Yeah, well, I think it's the point Liam made. If Aguero had been on the scene, it might have been, because he's got a great record against Newcastle as well. I think he scored 14 goals against them in 14 games.
But I'm only saying just on the game. I mean, they did dominate the game in the second half. I think Newcastle had 2 shots on goal in the whole match. And scored the 2 of them, but that's good for Newcastle. But you know, City were far from their best, but they still could have won the game. I mean, but could haves and should haves don't count. You either do it or you don't do it, and they didn't do it. And to be fair to Newcastle, they stuck to their guns. They did the best they could and finished up getting a good draw.
Okay, now the team that's in second place, Liam, is Leicester. They're 8 points behind. They got out of jail yesterday. And they got their second goal as a result of VAR. Felt sorry for Everton and for their coach Silva, who's in bother. They're really below where they should be, and they spent quite a bit of money in the summer. I was impressed that Leicester had the sort of resolve to keep going and to get the goal in the final minute. Did you think it was offside? Did you know whether it was offside? Because I'm not sure. Even after all the VAR, I think he was still marginally offside, and I'm not really. This VAR thing doesn't appear to be working the way it should.
No, there was a goal that Sheffield United scored against Tottenham when, you know, we had the same discussion. It looked like the guy's foot was actually playing him offside, you know, the Sheffield United forward. I think the goal that he scored the goal, but it was disallowed because of VAR. Now, I couldn't see him. I thought he was marginally ahead in Iacho yesterday.
Yes.
But they looked at it so many times, and, you know, they've come up with the fact that he was level. If you're level, you're onside. I thought it was a very good goal from Leicester. I don't think Everton were playing offside. I thought Everton had themselves to blame. They gave the ball away stupidly in midfield instead of holding their nerve in those last few minutes to get a valuable point and a morale boosting point. I thought their bottom went a bit and Leicester, you know, punished them. I didn't think it was a good performance from Leicester. I watched the game. And that's why I'm saying to you, with Liverpool 8 points ahead, I just can't see that they're putting a run together to catch them. I know they're on an amazing winning run at the moment, but looking at their performance, I just think they can't keep it up.
Yeah, John, it's highly unlikely that despite how well Brendan Rodgers has done, and there is no doubt about that. He's bought well as well. He's bought a centre-half to replace Maguire, who went to Manchester United. Soyuncu, he's a Turkish player. He's 23 years of age. He's an outstanding player. I think we've mentioned him on the podcast before. And I note in this morning's papers that Manchester City are keen to sign him. He has done a good job and he has bought well, John. There's a right fullback, Ricardo, as well, who's a really top player. Those two players alone, good recruitment, and they're a decent side.
Oh, they're very good, Eamon. You wouldn't put them up there with Liverpool.
No.
Or Manchester at their best. I mean, they're doing exceptionally well for what they have, and Brendan Rodgers has done a terrific job. And by the way, I didn't think Cardi was offside yesterday.
It was Iñárritu, actually.
Whoever was involved in it, I don't know, but that was a good move, as Liam says. I didn't think he was. And there's Vardy popping up again, Eamon.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about, I know you and Liam talked about him, particularly the other day. He was playing exceptionally well. But I don't see, I think Brendan Rodgers, if he finishes in the top four, Eamon, will have done a tremendous job. For Leicester. I don't see them challenging Liverpool at all. I felt a bit sorry for Everton. I thought they played actually quite well yesterday in a difficult match.
Yes.
And I think, as Liam said there, gave the ball away stupidly in the middle of the field for Leicester to go on and win the game. But I did feel a bit sorry for them. I thought they put the effort in, they had to go, and probably deserved a draw on the day. But when you're not going well, that's what happens, Eamon. But Leicester have done, under Brendan Rodgers, have done extremely well this year, no doubt.
Yeah, Liam, just a final word from you on Vardy. He's a hell of a player. It's unbelievable to think that he was playing non-league football until he was 24, or maybe even later.
He's a great player.
He's great attitude.
He's a great player. He's a great striker, and I think that goal he scored yesterday showed what he's all about. Iñárritu got in. I thought that was a shot. On the television,
yes,
the commentary I was listening to said it was a pass. In that way, was it a pass? He was on his bad foot, Iñárritu, and he scuffed it across the goal.
Yes.
But Vardy saying, well, this is what might happen here. So I'm getting in front of the defender. I'm going to get there first. If the keeper parries it, I'm going to knock it in. Or if it's a cross shot, if it's coming to me, I'm going to knock it in at the far post. And that's what shows what he's all about. He's hungry. He reads what's happening. He really is a great striker.
Yeah. John, just a final thought before we wrap up about our old friend, the special one, Jose. He seems to have done the trick with Dele Alli anyway, who's on fire, scoring a lot of goals. He's obviously given him the love. Put an arm round his shoulder, as opposed to his...
I don't agree with that. I think he's done the opposite. I think Pochettino was putting the arm around the shoulder, and maybe a bit too much.
Okay.
I mean, what Mourinho said last week, I made that comment about, is it you or your brother that's playing?
Yeah.
I think he's given the hard word, and it's probably what he needed. Eamon.
Okay,
so
well,
I think it's the opposite of the arm around the shoulder.
Okay.
I think if Pochettino did that, and he wasn't getting a response, I think he's gone the other way, Mourinho, and I think he's probably very, very right to do it.
But the performance from Dele Alli on Saturday and in the Champions League game during the week was superb. He's scoring goals. He is a talented lad, John, isn't he? I mean, he's
unbelievably talented, Eamon. That's what I say. I think Pochettino might have been going too easy on him, and I love Pochettino. I think he's done a great job there. But I think the fact that Mourinho, on his first meeting with him, said, is it you? Who's going to turn out, you or your brother? In other words, where have you been? You haven't been doing it.
Yeah.
And I think he might have needed that kick up the backside, Eamon, rather than the arm around the shoulder. And I think that's what he's done. He's unbelievably talented.
Yes.
Eamon. He's a very, very talented lad, and he's definitely one of the best strikers in Europe, in my opinion, if he's playing.
Yeah.
But he hasn't played for 12 months. You'd have to ask why. I mean, why is he not doing it? I think Mourinho has given him a little bit of a hard word and get him going, give him a little kick up the backside rather than the arm around the shoulder.
Liam, in the last 2 or 3 games I've seen, Spurs games, and since Mourinho's been there, Dele Alli is unrecognisable from the guy who was anonymous before.
Yeah, I would agree with what John says. I think Mourinho's challenged him, and Mourinho was interviewed about, how come he's playing so well, and he said, well, what put him in a position where he likes,
Yes.
and he makes those great runs from deep in behind the defence, and he times them very well. And there's Tottenham have got players to find them, and he's very cool in front of goal. So he's done well. But Tottenham really haven't played anybody yet, Eamon, in my opinion. We'll see going forward.
Okay, just a final question to you, Liam. One of our listeners, our regular listeners, sent me an email about Maradona and his time with Napoli in Serie A when, of course, for the first time ever, Napoli won Serie A. You were playing in Italy at that time, and I wondered, did you play against him, and what was it like? And, well, more importantly, our listener...
I played against him a number of times, Eamon. He came in about 84, I think, to Italy. I was there till 87, so I played both mainly against him when I was at Inter Milan. So I would have played a half a dozen times against him at least. It's unbelievable. He was the best player in the world by a street, a bit like Messi is now.
Yes,
to be quite honest.
And I mean, going to Napoli, where he was a god, did you play against him there? And it is true to say, isn't it, that they had been never champions of Serie A, and that's a particularly poor part of Italy, and what he did for them by winning Serie A was very, very special.
They're fanatical about football. They're absolutely fanatical about it, but they've never been any success. I think before Maradona came, it was early 60s that they had some success.
Yes.
But with him and the team, he brought them 2 league titles, and I think in the UEFA Cup, if I'm not.
Yes.
And, he was absolutely brilliant over his period of time there, and he was idolised, rightly so.
Did he get kicked?
Yes, a lot, but he was like a rubber ball. You couldn't, you'd hit the ground and he'd bounce up. You wouldn't knock him off the ball. He had tremendous balance, a low centre of gravity, and strong as well. Big, strong legs. He was a tremendous player.
Okay, Liam and John, thank you both very much for this morning, and I look forward to seeing both of you tomorrow when we'll be on the television doing Burnley Manchester City for Premier Sports. That's big thanks to John and to Liam.